You're listening to the TV Obsessive channel, presented by TVObsessive.com. Okay, welcome back to the TV Obsessive podcast. We're here for episode 27. As always, I'm Cameron Crane, executive editor of TVObsessive.com, joined by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor to the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing very well. Talking about an episode today called The Tinder Trap. I think I'm going to admit that with no spoilers, you were right last week with your guess of what it was about. We'll get there, but I think you were right in a weird way.
In a way, perhaps, yeah, we'll talk about it down the
Yeah.
line. Yeah. There's a definite reference, so yeah, in the latter half of the pod here today, we're gonna talk about that episode, season 5, episode 6 of Fargo. As per usual, first, I want to talk about some things going on in TV news over the past week, what we've been watching, that sort of thing. It's December 19th, as we say here recording today. What caught your eye this week, right?
Yeah, actually, a lot of news coming our way over the past few days. I guess so. When this happens, we just kind of start out with something like this. Just wanted to shout out Andre Brower.
Yeah.
This was a weirdly tough one to take. My son, who's falling in love with some old TV shows, is right in the middle of watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I had to tell him that this happened, and it was like devastated him. He loves that show right now. So I never really saw much of Homicide,
Right.
um,
Well, it's not
but
available anywhere.
yeah. So
It's never been available anywhere. I still haven't seen it. I've wanted to see Homicide for like 20 years. Um, and I don't even know if you can buy DVDs. But do you want to take the plunge to buy the DVDs of the show you've never seen?
yeah,
That's a hurdle,
yeah,
but it's never been available streaming anywhere. I think it's because of music rights and things like
yeah.
that. But yeah, Brookie's great on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, absolutely
Um,
fantastic. Was Homicide a precursor to Law and Order? Do I have that confused? Or just separate
no,
properties?
no, I think it's more of a precursor to The Wire,
Okay, okay.
in a way. And it got on my radar for that reason. Like I think David Simon was involved in Homicide, and so I have to double check on that. Should have double checked maybe.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, that one hit me hard too. I mean, he was really rather young. I think he was only 61.
yeah,
Of course, that news hit at this point pretty much a week ago. Like we were recording on Tuesdays. We'd already recorded last week when the news hit later that evening.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, massive bummer. Shout out to Andre Brower. Really is great in everything I have ever seen him in.
Yeah,
Um,
he was one of the best. I think started out really as this dramatic stage actor. Really could modify and mold himself to anything. Just tough one to lose.
yeah, right. And then I think that having that great dramatic background, you put him on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and the
Yeah.
timing of some of his lines is just hilarious, and he often deadpan, but just amazing stuff. So yeah, that's a real loss. On a more positive note, Good Omens has been renewed for season 3. I know any number of people in the world are very excited about that, including Neil Gaiman.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I don't know if you follow Neil Gaiman on Twitter. I think he's switched to Blue Sky almost entirely now. He's like very
Okay.
active on social media. He's always been very active, it seems like, and will interact with people and so on. And some people will say like, "Are we going to get season 3?" I hope so. You know, so we have
I
a
will
plan.
say, as someone who's never seen this show, I've been consuming obviously a lot of these end of year lists, best shows, best episodes, best moments, so on and so forth. More than three have had some moment from this Good Omens, maybe I guess the season 2 season finale that was just overwhelmingly good. And so it's almost inspired me to go check it out. But apparently that was a big hit this year.
Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, if nothing else, you got David Tennant, you got Michael Sheen.
Yeah.
You know, um, you got some good stuff going on there.
Okay.
And then it's a question of how game are you for a show that's basically like a fantasy show playing with religious tropes.
Yeah, I
You
certainly don't
know,
mind that.
yeah. So, but it's fun. What else we got?
Yeah, well, talk about something that is coming back. Something not coming back is my Bialik learned, I guess, a few days ago, she is out at Jeopardy. They're going to give it exclusively to Ken Jennings. So she and Ken sort of share this nomination for a Golden Globe for game show host, and she's out.
Yeah. What do we think about this? Do we want to risk gossip? Because I feel like in the
Uh,
background there's sort of like, but why? You know what I mean?
yeah, you
Because
cannot
she,
help but speculate. I always thought that not just because it's Ken Jennings, it would be him inevitably, but I was a fan of both of them. I ended up watching some of both.
yeah. Well, and I mean, we've hit on stuff about the strikes a
Yeah.
lot here, and one of the things that happened was that she would not return in solidarity
Right.
for Celebrity Jeopardy, I believe it was.
Mhm.
Um, It is related to that. There's some other things out there. Maybe it could
Yeah.
be related to. I guess we'll just not go down that road anyway. It's just going to be Ken Jennings, and he's pretty good. I really hadn't watched it. We've talked
Yeah.
about how I started watching the Celebrity Jeopardy, which then hit a hiatus. So I got all caught up, and then like, see you in January. Um,
I want Ken Jennings to develop the Alex Trebek condescension. When someone gets something wrong, just the oh no, 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 no. That type of response. That's what I want.
you think he's still a little too like
Yeah,
it's a little too much solidarity with the contestants, though,
exactly. You
because he
can
has the
empathize with them
background
too
of
much.
being
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's like, oh no, I understand. Oh man, I've been there. Not really, because I won
Yeah,
270 times in a row or whatever it was.
exactly.
You remember when that was going on? It's been a
Oh
while
man,
now.
yeah. I watched that. I mean, it got to the point where it was you did watch and you're like, well, what's the point? And then the new, I mean, it was like global news that he lost.
I know. I was going to say, I think that I heard that he had lost on NPR
Hmm.
before I'd seen the episode. I was like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. It's like 4 p.m. Like, it's not on for 3 more hours. What are you
And this whole
doing?
thing about that he did it on purpose and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Anyway, he does a pretty good job. I'll
Yes,
give
he
him
does.
that.
Yes.
He's no Alex Trebek, but no one is. So, he does fine. Um, other
What
things.
about
Oh, go
what
ahead.
about Curb Your Enthusiasm? Are you a Curb Your Enthusiasm watcher?
Man, I am so far behind.
I have finally caught up
Yeah,
and saw this news about a 12th and final season. I was going to see if you believe this. This will be a final season.
that's what they're saying. There started being such large gaps in between seasons. Um, and then also I fell behind.
Yeah.
And it's weird with this show, like, isn't it all necessary to go back? You know what I mean?
It definitely is not a show that is going to build on itself. Like you can enjoy an episode in season 10 and then go back to two. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just there is not much plot development. Some, I guess, over the course of the season. One of the seasons he like is opening a coffee shop, and so
Yeah.
that's progressing, but you're certainly not going to be lost if you just pick up random episodes.
Yeah. Maybe I could just, well, I figure out where I mean, because it is something like, I think I'm 3 seasons behind or something like that.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was into it and I mean, when was the first season of the show? It must have been like 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, 20 years ago at least.
Yeah. So in spirit, I'm there for it. Love Larry David and Curb Your
I'll be
Enthusiasm.
watching. It's disappointing to see that might be actually the final one. I think he put out some statement that's saying finally this is going to end, so I can get rid of this persona that's been put on me and be the
Yeah.
joyful person that I really am.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not actually like this at all.
Right.
Right. Like, well, it's just as a character. Right.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to me. Maybe I should try to catch up and then watch it week to week. I think I've always binged it. And
Yeah.
then this is one of those, this one and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I've always binged seasons. And with
Yeah.
both of these shows, I feel like I binge the season and I go, did I just become a slightly worse person?
Definitely with Curb. Yes, you will.
Yeah. Did I just shake this off a little bit? Yeah. Speaking of another guy who plays awkward character, but in real life we all know is really chill and laid back as per his Kimmel appearance. Nathan Fielder, right, watching The Curse.
Yeah.
Um, it's on YouTube. It's Nathan Fielder posted it, so I don't know. Just give him the credit, as it were. But anyway, they put up a pilot exclusive first look of Philanthropy, the show that they are supposedly producing for HGTV.
Yes.
This. Um,
It just, I just, I just am having these reactions when people mention the curse or philanthropy. This moments from the show jump into my mind, and like I said, that I do not want to give any of them away. But this is I just, I wish I knew how to just describe it if I could even say what it was.
yeah. Well, I think it's kind of great. I mean, like, there's not really a lot in this first look
Yeah,
pilot thing. It's
yeah,
like 9 minutes long,
yeah.
but it does kind of sort of seem like it's presented as though Dougie put it together. I noticed there's a typo in the meta description, and I wondered, like, I think that's intentional. I
Is
decided
it
I think that's
visual?
intentional. Um, and you see um the home buyer they focus on, I think it was in like the first episode or something like this woman who they moved to a new home, they subsidize her rent, so like we'd seen some of this in the curse.
Yeah.
um and if you are up on the show the curse, you know that there've been some kind of machinations and tweaks to what the philanthropy is going to be like. um so that's not really here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully we get another one later, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like this is give more of this kind of extra.
The evolved version of philanthropy.
Yeah, yeah. And there is an L philanthropy, which I didn't realize at first. I was getting it wrong because I thought
But
there'd be
oh, okay.
a better
Philanthropy.
parallel without that L in it,
Yeah.
you know.
Philanthropy.
But I guess there is an L there in philanthropy. So it's just kind of like they're not following how words work,
Yeah.
really. But anyway, loving the
Oh,
curse, loving the
oh
curse,
man.
and
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely love it. Few more episodes left there. Well, on a more serious note, just want to touch on the Jonathan Majors news. Came out yesterday.
yeah,
There were four charges out against him. He was convicted on two of them. One, a non-criminal charge of harassment. The second, a third-degree reckless assault charge. So really the lesser charges he was convicted
yeah,
on, but Marvel was ready. He's
yeah.
gone,
It
right?
was
They
I read immediately
dropped
Marvel
him,
dropped him.
and if I didn't spend too much time talking about this show, but if you watched the finale of Loki, which is the show that introduced his character almost two
Yeah.
years ago, they ended that show despite what happened, with him showing up in Ant-Man, him showing up in other things. They ended that show in a way that there is a very clear path to not ever using him again if they wanted to go that path. So
Oh
they
yeah.
were they were ready for this, and yeah, wasted no time saying you are no longer part of our properties. And who knows what this means for him. It doesn't seem like people are able to come back for this, and certainly for salty people, he shouldn't be able to come back from, at least for without whatever his sentencing will be. I think his sentencing will be in February, and he'll serve whatever he has to serve, and then we'll see. But he's no longer part of Marvel or frankly anyone's plans at the current moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know in terms of how his career will go. Um, when something like this happens, it always feels at the time, like right now, it feels
Yeah,
like, well, his career's over. Um, but who
yeah,
knows what will happen in a few years or whatever. Marvel was planning to have his character centrally featured in upcoming films and so on, I believe. Do you think they'll write him out? Or I've seen some people speculating about recasting the role and who they'd like to see take over the role.
yeah. There certainly is a sense of for Marvel, a since we want to continue with this movie that we have on our calendar, we could just recast, especially because the idea of this character was built around the idea of variants. There are so many of them, and all these variants have different, obviously, aspects and features, and we can make, our primary character a variant that looks nothing like this guy. That's certainly a path that they could take.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I started playing the game. I don't watch this stuff. I'm not up
Yeah.
to date on it, but I decided to be like, you know what? I have a suggestion. And I do. I said, I'll go ahead and make it. I think
Yeah, it's
cast
possible.
Andre 3000. Cast Andre
Andre
3000.
3000.
That's my suggestion. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things. Andre 3000. I saw somebody say Will Smith, but that's no, that's
No,
just,
you know,
flipping over the same card over
you
again.
know, almost fit.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's so good.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so
Andre Benjamin, he's a good actor.
he is great. He is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be that would be pretty great. I could see that happening. Get a little punch in the arm to Marvel as well. So yeah, he's that news has come out. Marvel's made their statement, so that chapter is over.
So it goes. Well, I think that about covers our news. What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, yeah, no, same as it ever was past few weeks. Wrote just a piece yesterday about the last two episodes of Monarch, kind of the ups and downs of that show, enjoying one piece of it much more than another. But the one good thing that didn't put in this piece is there were some real cool Easter eggs that they're starting to drop in this show connecting to the movies. So I do wonder as we get closer to the end, what will be more largely connected and what did they decide to introduce or talk about. So still some interesting things there despite the up and down. I've almost made it through the first season of Slow Horses, which
Yeah.
is a big piece in GQ right now about Gary Oldman and his the year of the crank, right? Because he's in this third season of Slow Horses and his cameo in Oppenheimer. And so I'm enjoying that show so far. So that's kind of taking up my time at the moment.
Well, glad to hear it. Yeah, as we hit on last week, I started watching Slow Horses and I stopped, and people are talking about it again. They've kind of cranked out 3 seasons of that show
Yeah,
too.
fast,
Like
real
when
fast.
I say I watched the first couple episodes, that was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then they've really cranked it out. As for me, we mentioned The Curse. I'm still watching that, writing on that. A Murder at the End of the World finale episode came out today. So I have a piece up on the site on that, and I've kind of been enjoying. I've been trying to engage with the World Wide Web a little bit more and talking about the show now
Yeah.
that it's over. I've had screeners, so I've been ahead of everyone a lot. Even though I've been doing it week to week. But I think it did pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that vote of confidence or that endorsement to accept I've enjoyed the first episode quite a bit. And so now I'm saving for my holiday time to plow through the rest.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoy it. I don't know. It was like I could certainly it's been kind of refreshing because popping on the Reddit and stuff, it seems like for the most part people have been liking it,
Yeah.
which I kind of thought that maybe there would be more people kind of complaining about it. And I guess I don't really want to go into why. Um, but anyway, like I kind of set up my article on the finale as a defense of it, or like
Yeah.
here's my take on what I think they were doing and what I think they did well. And so, just take it on its own terms, I guess
Yeah.
is the note. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we should also say we'll obviously talk about this more to get into January. You and I are gonna on the site and on the podcast heavily cover True Detective when it comes out. So we are
That's the plan.
very much looking forward to that in less than 4 weeks now.
Yeah, comes out on January 14th, I believe, is the
Yeah.
premiere for the season of True Detective. And
HBO Sunday night is back, baby.
yeah, indeed. Well, I mean, I don't. We sound. I fear we sound too demeaning when we say things like that. Like the Gilded Age has been on.
Exactly.
Like
I do see a
I,
lot of Gilded Age content. I'm like, oh crap, we missed out on this. Apparently, a lot of people like
yeah,
it.
I think yeah, like that's what I mean. Like I've in the past few days seen people kind of raving about the season 2 finale of the Gilded Age, and like, still haven't watched it at all.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
understand Carrie Coon is in it. I do like her.
Oh, I love Carrie Coon, man. All right, yeah, that's all right. Let's put it somewhere on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we go to Fargo?
Yeah, let's do it. So again, we're going to be talking about Fargo season 5, episode 6, titled "The Tender Trap." As promised, we'll talk about the title,
Yeah.
along with other things in the episode. So spoilers on the table for really everything in Fargo through this episode. As per usual, we'll take like 10 seconds here, pop in a little bit of music, and pick up with Fargo on the other side.
Okay, we are back to talk about Fargo season 5, episode 6, The Tender Trap. A quick recap of the episode. Our queen of the show, Dot slash Nadine, is nowhere to be found, but all the pieces on the chessboard are continuing to make their moves around her to try to find where she is, to try to see what they can do for her. Roy is furious at another one of Gator's epic screw ups, so he goes back to their old friend Munch to try to take care of Dot once and for all. Officer Indira is going after her husband, and not quite as much as she goes after Lorraine, who she really wants Lorraine to understand what Dot has been through, what she needs to do to support her. And then as a result, Lorraine ends up offering her job. Lorraine and Roy both go after the bank owner and have some very interesting and unique ways of threatening him. All the while, the FBI are still looking for Dot, still trying to find her, so they can, now we've learned, use her to go after Roy and his men and the militia that they're building with taxpayer money. And then in the background, Wayne is out of the hospital and still seems quite aimless and confused, and Scotty's hanging out with Lars playing his drums. So a lot of pieces happening here. And as I mentioned, no Juno Temple in this episode. How'd that land for you? Still a strong one here, or wish you would have seen her?
Yeah, well, no, I think it works. You're kind of withholding her character. We're kind of wondering what she's up to, and you just don't get it.
Yeah,
And then one imagines that probably in the next episode she'll
yeah.
re-enter the story. Um,
That is confirmed. I can I can
yeah,
confirm she's
yeah. What
heavily in the next
imagines that's what's gonna happen. But I thought this worked pretty well. You know, the tender trap. So you
one.
think I suggested last week it had something to do with money, and
Yep.
I guess like maybe it's but it's also the name of the strip club.
It's the name of a strip club. I can only imagine that that would end up being a trap for your money if you go in there in a lot of different ways. But ends up being a trap in multiple levels for for Vivian, for people that go in there. So should we start with this bank owner that both Lorraine and Roy are trying to manipulate?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. So it's you get first. It's really towards the beginning of the episode
Yep.
that you get Roy confronting him coming out of the strip club. Maybe this is the opening scene even. And threatening him and saying you're not doing any business with Lorraine, don't even answer her phone calls, and so on and so forth. Or I'm going to destroy you or kill you. Maybe I don't.
I think
Um,
that's the implication. Yeah.
yeah. And then it circles around at the towards the end when Danish confronts him in the same place. He's in the strip
Hmm.
club again for Lorraine's rebuttal, as it were, which is I've stick the feds on you, your business is destroyed, and guess what? I also got your kid kicked out of college.
Yeah, and there are worse things than death. You should have just taken that option.
Yeah, I guess vicious,
Yeah,
vicious.
yeah. No,
Uh,
I did like the symmetry of the sort of the opening and closing of this episode being at this place, the Tinder Trap. The idea that this is, I'm sure, not only a trap for this guy, but for many others. And just really a good avenue by which both, Roy and Lorraine can just cook and do their things the best that they possibly can, right? That was just sort of the height of their powers, I guess, as a word, and so far in this season to see, them really put the pressure on this guy.
yeah, and I will say, this guy Vivian Duggar. I'm by no means going to suggest that he seems like a good,
Yeah.
upstanding fellow or anything like that, but I do feel a little bad for him because if I'm putting this together right, he's sitting there, he's got this bank. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a shady bank, maybe we can already kind of,
Could be.
dislike him. We don't know all that much about, how much Mr. Potter he is or whatever, but you run
Yeah.
to the bank and if I'm putting this together right, Lorraine approaches him. Lorraine comes along and says, "Hey, I want to buy your bank." Right. And then Roy's like, "Oh no, you're not doing that," and he gets threatened that way. But
Yeah.
then he gets his life destroyed the other way. And like 2 weeks ago, he was just like not involved in any of this at all.
So
That's
I'm
how.
glad you brought that up because I had the very same thought. And then I thought, it must be why in the first scene they add this little interaction between Vivian and Roy, where Roy says, doesn't one of these strippers have a restraining order against you 500 feet? And he starts going on to how he's knows where she is. She's not here anymore. She lives with her mother. So it's sort of like he's still kind of stalking her. So we need to know that this is kind of a bad guy because there's a lot of bad things about to happen to him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is clear that he's a
Yeah.
bad guy,
Yeah.
but at the same time, with this particular thing, if you think
Yeah.
about it, it's just kind of like
Yeah.
he got sucked into it and then totally screwed over by it. And like, what was he supposed to do?
Yeah. And
Really?
his son, his
What?
poor son, just getting kicked out of school.
Right. Um. Anyhow, some good stuff with Lorraine in this episode. Um. That you mentioned how she offers Indira a job ultimately.
Yes.
What do we think about that? Because Indira comes, right? The background here being that, like, I guess she wants to get Scotty off her hands ultimately
Yeah.
because she was playing Lars's drum after Lars just left her completely alone.
Right. Right.
And she comes home, she's like, "This is no good. You'll be safe with your
You've had
grandmother."
crackers all day. That was that was the final straw.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Lars more here at some point, I'm sure. But also confronting Lorraine with what Roy,
Yeah.
the damage he had wreaked on Nadine slash Dot, and arguing that there should be solidarity there,
Yeah.
and then that leading to Lorraine kind of flipping a switch all of a sudden and offering her a high paying job.
Yes.
How did this all end for you?
A white collar job with a white collar salary, right?
Mm.
um, I found this very interesting because it's clear that Lorraine respects power, respects um, uh, people who command a certain sense of authority. I think if um, Indira had just gone in there and just berated her and told her how much of an asshole she is, that would not have sat as well as Indira is sort of telling her what she needs to do and here's evidence or what and how you need to feel and here's the evidence of why, right? Sort of putting her in her place and making her understand why that's the case. So she sort of understands the Indira stepping up to that line and confronting her. Um, I think that there's sort of this part of the conversation where Indira says, you and I are the same. We wake up early in the morning and kick ass and just try to keep things together. I don't necessarily think that Lorraine believes that, but she certainly respects Indira more for taking this step and thereby saying, it'd be better to have this person on my side than against me right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like the pivot moment is Lorraine says something like, "I don't like your tone,"
Yeah.
and Jira says, "I don't care.
Yeah.
Deal with it. You need to hear this."
Yeah.
And that the kind of woman Lorraine is, that lands as kind of in that moment. She goes, "Oh, like maybe you are something that's, you know." And then I think she chastises Indira for like turning to apologize at one point later or something. No, don't do that. Like you found it. You found it within yourself to say no, and like stand up to me.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess this makes sense to me in terms of Lorraine's character. And then it's kind of a difficult question, should Indira take this job?
Yeah.
What do you think on do you think she should take the job? Let's just
I think she should.
yeah.
Probably. Do I think she will? No. No, I don't think that she does. I don't think the show can continue on the path that we're setting out for ourselves if she takes this job. But I mean,
From like
she
a
wants
real life
nothing
point of
more.
view.
Yeah, she wants nothing more but to get out of this debt. She's been offered a chance to do it. Why not take it?
Yeah, but see, that's the rub, because it's very directly saying, here you can come work for me, and I'll give you a large enough salary that you
Yeah,
will be able to get out of debt
yeah,
potentially pretty quickly,
yeah,
right? And it's going to be a white collar job. It's going to be a good paying job. But on the other side of that, it is giving up whatever felt commitment Indira has to being a public servant
yes,
in
yeah,
law enforcement,
yeah,
and would have something of the structure of selling out,
Yeah.
And also she doesn't like Lorraine. It's not like just because Lorraine's
No.
going to pay her money, all of a sudden that's going to flip a switch. It really
Yeah.
is. It really, I think, from her perspective, does have some of the structure of, hey, come and work for the devil
Yeah.
and get a reward.
Yeah, very, very, very Faustian bargain in terms of what the offer is here. And there's also a way of thinking of it as she can help Indira get out of one kind of debt, but you take this job, you don't work for her, you're indebted to her for a whole other set of reasons, or a whole other set of things. And so there's just really no, you may think you're escaping, but there really isn't any escape.
Yeah, right. So it makes sense to me. She at least hesitates,
Yeah.
in terms of where the show goes from here. You're probably right that I don't know, but you're probably right. That it wouldn't make the most sense in
Yeah.
terms of
I doubt she
um,
takes it, but we'll see.
but if she does turn the job down, that's still a question to be thinking about. How
Mhm.
how does that land for us as viewers? Are we thinking like, oh, why are you being,
Yeah. And what
you know?
retribution is there from Lorraine if she doesn't? Or is she going to end up being empathetic or sympathetic with Dot because she's now seen this file and she's sort of exposed some of the things that she's been through?
I think you get the closing scene. She's looking at the
Mhm.
photos of oh, oh, Dot having been beaten and so on, and some movement of Lorraine in the direction of um being more on Dot's side. I could well see she's already, for all intents and purposes, all been on Dot's side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really, I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
her actions.
Been on
Um,
Dot's side in comparison to wanting Roy to retake his possessions, quote unquote. But in terms of this this girl belongs to my family or is worthy enough of being a part of us, that's where she, once Roy's out of the way, then she's got to go back, revert to an old
yeah,
position there.
yeah, not that. So I mean, there is that question. As far as Indira goes, I feel like I don't know. I don't think there'd be retribution. I think if Indira turns down the job offer, Lorraine's just going to be disappointed in her and not respect her.
Yeah, yeah,
Because from Lorraine's point of view, Indira should definitely 100% take that job.
yeah,
And if she doesn't, I think she's just going to be like, well,
yeah.
you're just stupid, basically.
So were you hoping for, I remember our conversation from, there was episode 3 maybe, where these folks were about to come to Dot's house, and we were anticipating this big buildup in this scene happening. We're anticipating that this same type of sort of aggressiveness that she had with the range, she was going to have with Lars when Lars was going on his speech about wanting a real wife. Like, I kept waiting for her to go for it, and she never did.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing too, right? Like, this is the path that opens. She
Yeah,
could take that job from Lorraine, go home, and tell Lars to shove it,
yeah, yeah,
right? Marriage over.
yeah,
You misogynistic, worthless,
yeah,
because he is,
yeah,
right? Like that, the fact that you have this guy who's running them into debt, who's like
yeah.
trying to make it as a golfer, and clearly that's not working,
Right.
but he's like deluded about his prospects,
Yeah,
and then he starts trying to tell his wife she's not being a good wife
yeah, yeah,
when she's materially supporting them, and everything else, I
yeah.
mean,
This guy, I mean, he jumped about 800 spots and sort of the list of worst television characters we've ever seen, right? I mean, this guy is just despicable. He is on the, I don't know. We don't need to do our Mount Rushmore of despicable TV characters, but he's nearby. He's nearby that list, and it just, I mean, my gosh, it's almost like th this was a lot of steps, from who he was to where he is now, but yeah, to have that happen and then have this job offer for Lorraine, you're rooting for her to, yeah, go work for this horrible person so you can get rid of an even worse person.
potentially, I mean, like,
Yeah,
that path's open to her, and in terms of that scene itself, I get what
yeah,
you're saying. I don't know that I had the expectation
yeah,
that she was going um turn on Lars like that in that scene. I had the desire for her to, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had the desire for her to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
This marriage is over.
Yeah.
Get out of my house.
Yeah.
I'm the one paying the rent. You get out of my
Yeah.
house, or something like that. And who knows? I mean, maybe as this develops, things will go in that direction ultimately.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to see
Yeah.
otherwise in a certain.
Yeah. I enjoy that there was so much of the Indira piece in this episode. I mean, because if we're gonna not have Dot, this Indira story was a really nice substitute for that.
Yeah. And thinking about it, like most of the men in this story are pretty bad.
Yeah,
Pretty misogynistic, sexist, chauvinist. I mean, who's not? Wayne seems pretty all right.
yeah, Wayne is just sort of sitting there.
He's kind of out of it though. He's kind of bumbling. He's certainly
Yeah.
not like
You mean Ballerino Wayne?
yeah, ballerino.
Okay.
Which is true, by the way. That is
Yeah.
the correct term. It sounds
No,
like
it's funny
really sad.
how it's clear Lorraine has established, a house full of emasculated men to work or live with her. I mean, just her husband and his portable martini cart. I mean, that right this time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's sort of the problem is that on the other side, you do have men who are fairly emasculated,
Yeah.
you know, who I'm trying to think of exceptions. Danish, maybe kind of an exception, but he's a yes man.
Yeah, he's a yes, yes. Pure yes man. Does whatever he's told.
Um, Gator is certainly not an archetype of masculinity we want to endorse.
Yeah, he
Uh,
is he tries to embody masculinity in every stereotype possible, and
yeah,
yet cannot keep from, I mean, just mistake after mistake. Knowing what we know about Roy, I'm surprised Roy has not disowned him at this point, right? It's like you're fired, you're out of his house, you're out of the business, whatever. It baffles me that he's keeping Gator around this long.
yeah. Well, and so in this episode, we should hit on this. I asked last week whether Gator knows what Wayne looks like, and we get direct verification that the answer was indeed no.
No,
He never got eyes on Wayne to know what he looks like, but he told Roy that he did.
yes, he did. Yep,
Not smart.
got a good look at him at the house. Can grab him in the hospital, even though he was told to stay in the car. Gator goes in. They grab the wrong guy. They're fooled by the piece of paper on the door. And this poor guy who just thought his biggest concerns were needing a new kidney.
Yeah, and coincidentally, Roy sees one of Wayne's car ads on
Yeah,
TV, right before this. But that guy, I don't have a note of his name. The guy they mistakenly take here
yeah,
too. We should feel bad for him from like an
yes,
objective, detached point of view. But he's such an asshole. I don't.
he is. He in the process of being, I mean, beat to a pulp. He's just talking about how all he needs is a new kidney, and then I mean the gall just to kind of confront or Roy when he comes in. I mean, he was going to get it no matter what. But man, this guy, yeah,
But yeah, and you go back to him in the hospital too. He was just yelling at the nurses
all
and
the time.
you know, um, but again, from like a detached point of view, he didn't deserve to get kidnapped and killed,
No, no.
for being a
Did,
mean hospital patient, basically
did
what
Roy's
it turned
level
out
of
to.
violence in this episode surprise you? Striking his wife, shooting this guy in the forehead. I mean, we've seen him embody or task other people with this. We've seen him provide retribution for other people doing this to their wives. Did it sort of strike you his level of, all right, I'm just taking this into my own hands now?
Yeah, it did. I mean, him shooting the guy that they kidnapped by mistake. I mean, that kind of just made sense for me. Like, what else are you going to do? You
Exactly.
gotta
Yeah.
clean up, you gotta tie up that loose end, and it's just going to mean killing this guy and dumping his body, and you know. and him smacking his wife, Karen, I believe her name is. Um, that didn't really surprise me per se.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of interesting if you go back to that speech that Roy was giving to Joshua, um, who he was chastising for beating his wife.
Hmm.
I'm saying all the way back in the beginning. He does kind of throw in there that, hitting your wife sometimes is okay. Like that when they're in the diner. He says
Yeah.
something like, there is this natural order.
Natural order.
And
Yeah.
if it's a matter of reminding your wife of her place in that natural order,
Yeah.
he thinks that is justifiable. But what Joshua's been doing, he thinks isn't that, you know. So maybe
What do you
worth reminding ourselves of that wrinkle in there.
what do you think the end game is if he gets Dot back? Does he want to kill her? Does he want to then just excommunicate this other family? What's his game here?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Um,
I mean, clearly there's no love lost between Roy and this wife and these kids. He does not seem to. I mean, we've seen him sort of use her in the bedroom. We've seen him now call his daughters welfare queens because they're sitting at the table watching TV. He's smacking her around. I think he drops them at the first sign of have a chance to get back with Dot, but I don't know if that's his desire or not.
yeah, it'd be kind of odd. I hope we get more indications. He said something like, a, sometimes a debt can become such that it can't be repaid at
Right.
one point, talking about Dot. Um, so I don't know if he intends to kill her. Um,
Yeah.
but certainly yeah, it must be more than that
Yeah.
because,
There's
if
gonna, I mean, he just seems to be about retribution. So there's gonna need to be a, pound of flesh, as it were, for, running out on him and causing him all this trouble.
to bring her back and to somehow put her in her place,
Yeah.
right? And if we imagine this, I think we have to start imagining something that seems really, really dark.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be a matter of, oh, well, you're my wife now again,
Yeah.
and Karen, and you get out of here.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I think it might be much more like you're my prisoner wife, or something, really, really
Yeah.
disturbing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
yeah. Okay, what else do we have to hit on here?
Well, we need to talk about maybe Munch coming back. How about
Oh, right, yeah, for
we
sure.
wind up there?
For sure, we need to hit on that. Couple of things. I mean, it wasn't entirely clear to me, I guess, exactly what was happening here. Roy says Roy decides they need to pay him,
Hmm.
and it almost feels like superstition on his part.
Yeah.
He's like, what, son, maybe things keep going bad because we tried to screw over old Munch,
Yeah.
and so
He
we're
says,
gonna pay him.
he says we're
But
taking
then,
luck out of the equation.
right,
Yeah.
but then are they is he rehiring him, or is he just paying him for the past work? That was a little unclear to me.
I get a sense because they talked about now, okay, now you know who she is. Now you know that she's this tiger. Now you understand what she's capable of. I got the sense that it was payment plus interest, plus I'm rehiring you to get her. We haven't been able to do it. This karma's coming back at us because we tried to kill you and sort of run it on our end. So we will need you back to do this. And of course, Gator wants none of that.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. It's
Yeah.
just not explicitly said, so we'll see where that goes. And then worse, Gator puts a tracker on his car. What's he going to do with that?
He's gonna go meet his mom, drink beer and watch tennis, I guess, while that's the only thing. Besides hunting people, that's all the Munch does.
Well, what's Gator going to do?
What's Gator gonna
Right?
do?
Because I can't help but thinking, okay, he put a tracker on Munch's car. Like, is he thinking to go track Munch down himself and kill him and take that money back, or something stupid like that,
Yeah, I think that this is just a little bit of theory corner happening here again. Uh he wants to follow Munch until Munch sort of does the job, get rid of Munch, take Dot, claim the credit for himself. That's his goal.
Yeah,
Get
I
back
think
at
it
that
must be something like
gracious.
that,
Yeah,
which is 100% not going to work out
it
for
will.
Gator.
This is likely gonna have fatal consequences for Gator. That's just a prediction right now.
Yeah, there's no chance. I mean, if we're talking about placing a wager, there's no chance this is
No,
working out well for Gator.
no,
Zero.
none. Oh, yeah, this is,
Okay.
I did enjoy, this has obviously been a lot focused on Juno Temple and her character. It was really refreshing. Not, I mean, Juno does an incredible job playing this character. Very, uh, I think very passionate, very nuanced, a very good job. But it was good to see a lot of different pieces of the world in this one as we got away from her for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was a good episode.
Yeah.
And flesh out. It's good that they fleshed out Lars.
Yes.
For
Yes.
example, like we already probably didn't have a super positive view of him, but now we really know how bad he is. Um, and uh, and the others here, and we've of course mentioned Danish. Props again to Dave Foley. I think Dave Foley's doing a great job
He
with
is.
Danish.
He is. I mean, really incredible. It's hard to play a yes man that also has sort of a sense of not a sense of personality, but a little bit of sense of us. He has a spine. He has a little bit of sense of direction, and he's the only one that can kind of push back on the rein a little bit.
Yeah, it's like he's a yes man, but he knows his place, I
Yeah.
think, entirely,
Yeah.
and is entirely comfortable with
Yeah.
it, is the thing.
He's the
So
Tom to the Corleone family. He's the conciliary.
yeah, and totally comfortable with that. So
Exactly. Exactly.
um
No, Dave Foley, great performance.
yeah, I agree. All right, I think that about does it for this one. So
I think that's it. But
that's
you're
it.
right. We know that next week is going to be heavy on Dot and Nadine. We hear there are some interesting things coming.
Yeah, so we will be back next week on the 26th. And our current plan is we're just going to talk about Fargo season 5, episode 7. That
Yep.
will be the day after Christmas. We're in that holiday week. Merry Christmas to everyone who celebrates Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully you enjoy the weird week and days off and messiness. Um, Christmas is on a Monday this week, and then New Year's Day is on a Monday, and then
Yeah.
probably some people are going to have to work during that week in the middle to some extent, and other people won't. And anyhow, our plan here is to be back for you on the 26th to talk about episode 7 after it airs. So keep an eye out for the podcast as per usual. In the meantime, encourage you to check out the website, tvobsessive.com. You can also find recaps of Fargo episodes, season 5 by Felicia Nickens. If you want to read those, there's some other Fargo stuff on the site also. And work on any number of other shows. So hopefully check out tvobsessive.com. And follow us on social media at TV Obsessive. Or it varies a little bit, but you can search and find it. I did, Ryan, finally do Threads this week.
Oh,
So
you
we're
signed for
now
Threads.
we're now on Threads. I gave in. They made it easier.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do it on a web browser now.
Oh,
There's
that's
like
right.
you're on Instagram and there's a little button for Threads and you just click it, and so I went ahead and did that. So we're on X, Facebook, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and now Threads.
Threads.
If you want to
All
find
right.
it.
As
Also a
soon as
YouTube
you
channel.
get as soon as you get us on TikTok, we'll have made it.
I don't think I can do TikTok.
Me neither.
No. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, as always, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you then.